7-8 साल में मेरा इतना ध्यान नहीं लगा जितना आज आयुष होमा में मैं ध्यान में डूब गई थी। हिलने को मन नहीं कर रहा था, कोई चीज ने टेक ओवर कर लिया था जैसे। आई वाज फीलिंग वेरी हेल्दी एंड हैप्पी।
मेरा नाम नूपुर है एंड आई जस्ट अटेंडेड द आयुष होमा। मेरे को पिछले 15 दिन से साइनस था एंड आई एम सफरिंग फ्रॉम साइनस फ्रॉम पास्ट 6 years। ऑन एंड ऑफ आता रहता है बिकॉज इट इज़ एन एलर्जिक थिंग, बट एज सून एज आई गॉट अप फ्रॉम आयुष होमा इट वॉज इंस्टेंटली गॉन।
आयुष होम पुराना ये एक पद्धति है, प्रार्थना ये करते हैं ते आयुर्वर्धता, मेरा आयुष बढ़े, मेरा आरोग्य उत्तम रहे, हमारा स्वास्थ्य ठीक रहे, हमारा आँख आखिरी तक देखता रहे, मेरा कान सुनता रहे। ये आयुष होम में यही सब प्रार्थना है। और उसके साथ साथ नवग्रह जो है उसकी नव धान्य है, अलग अलग धान्य इसको अग्नि में आहुति देते हैं।
So my legs were quite painful, and I really felt at some point how something was getting released. It was very obvious actually. So it's really it's experimenting magic.
It was such a wonderful experience. The amount of blessings that were poured over me was, tremendous. It was truly blissful, and I was totally into tears, and I cannot express that feeling which I felt that time.
हर मनुष्य चाहता है कि वो 24 घंटे आनंद में रहे, लेकिन उसके लिए हमें उन कर्मों को हटाना होता है जो दुख देते हैं। आयुष होमा एक वैदिक उपाय है जो आपके शरीर, मन और चेतना को शुद्ध करता है। तो एक बार आयुष होमा का अनुभव जरूर लें और फिर देखिए, हर जन्मदिन, हर उत्सव में आप इसे अपनी जिंदगी का हिस्सा बना लेंगे।
Yes, we can start.
Hello, namaste everyone. A very warm welcome. My name is Tanup Softa and I really feel privileged to be in conversation with Swami Kaushik ji today to explore Rameshwaram, Gurudev and the deeper spiritual context. So a brief introduction about Swami Kaushik ji. He is the director of teacher training at the Sri Sri School of Yoga in India and part of the global curriculum design team. With over 15 years of experience, he has trained yoga teachers across the world. Rooted in Vedic tradition from a young age and with a strong background in Sanskrit, Kashi Bhaiya, as he is fondly known by everyone, is also an alumnus of the Indian Institute of Technology. A full-time volunteer with the Art of Living Foundation since 1995, he has guided more than 1 lakh participants globally through yoga, meditation, and self-development programs. Known for his clarity, depth, and lightness of teaching, Kashi Bhaiya is deeply committed to make the ancient wisdom of yoga accessible and practical for the modern world. So we welcome you, Kashi Bhaiya, Swami Kaushik ji, today.
Thank you, Tanu.
Swamiji, we're not in that habit of calling you Swami Kaushik ji,
You
हमेशा वो
can
बार बार.
you can keep calling me Kashibia. It's perfectly okay.
Okay. So, Swamiji, the first question is that we want whatever I've missed on in the introduction about you and something that you haven't spoken about you and the projects that you've done to explain them today in this podcast.
For me, I really feel my identity is totally that of having dropped all other identities. And that's what for me a sannyasi really is. Over the period of the last 30 years that I've spent with Gurudev, this is what I know. But I know for sure that something inside me says that my Guru has always been with me. Now, it might seem very esoteric, very illogical, but we have all always had this feeling whenever we met Gurudev or that there was already some connection. And this was exactly what happened in my life. When I was in IIT, I went to my friend's room and I saw a photograph of Gurudev. It was a calendar, green background, leaves, and white dress with a red rose in hand. And the moment I saw Gurudev, I really felt this is it. There's some connection. There's something that connects me to my Guru. And it was just a sense of homecoming. It's been that day and it's been 30 years now. And I still feel that this journey is unending. And I think that is what spirituality truly is. Whether it is exploring the magic of mantras, whether it's exploring the mysticism of meditation, or whether it's exploring the mantra of mysticism. I think it all ties in so beautifully when you have a guru. And I think that for me is really uh, my whole path in a nutshell. Does that make sense, Tanu?
Yeah, wonderful. Of course it does. So, Swamiji, what is how is it different now? You've changed so many people's lives and you've had different roles in Art of Living projects. Just tell us briefly about the different projects that you were associated with or are still doing it right now with the Art of Living.
When I came to the ashram, it was 1995, and long, long time ago, I was still in. And when I came to the ashram, I remember Gurudev telling me, go finish your studies. I graduated, I got my master's, and then I came back. And when I came back to the ashram, that's when I realized that the ashram is a place where the scope of work is infinite. I could do whatever it is that I wanted to do. So when I came to the ashram first, I remember all of us would lift cots and mattresses, do housing, set up the rooms for guests to come, take people's luggage and reach it to the rooms, do the plumbing, join the wires if needed, uh, take a look at the generator, the pump. I mean, every aspect. We would go to the kitchen to help with the kitchen staff, help in cooking, serving, cleaning the vessels. That's when I realized the amount of ability each one of us possesses. It started off as a very small thing. Then I remember over the years, I was given the responsibility of handling the publication. So a lot of the books that came out in the old times, I still remember going to the printing press, sitting with the editors, getting everything laid out properly. I still remember working with the Gurukul, and mantras were my passion anyway. So I would sit with the Veda boys, sit with the Gurukul staff, and it would be so nice to just be with the mantras. And I never studied Rudram or anything, but over a period of time, I think just listening to all of that, it kind of got imbibed. And of course, the biggest thing was the time with Gurudev. Seeing how Gurudev would interact with different people from different walks of life, I think that was my biggest experience in the art of living. I got to be what used to be called at that time the doorkeeper. I would be at the door and make sure that people would get in, get out, etc. That was a time when there were no locks, everyone would just walk in. And it was such an interesting time because to see Gurudev interact with so many different people from different walks of life, it allowed me, for me, it was just like a very beautiful training. It was like a training to see how one should behave. And I think those learnings are what I cherish in my life. And this is what really helps me today when I travel all over the world. I remember it was, I think, the World Culture Festival in Berlin, and myself and Swami Jyotirlinga ji, Swami Satyajata, Prashant Rajuri ji, many of us were in Berlin, and we were there for 3 months. I was going around the whole of Germany doing yoga sessions, asanas, and then we would talk to people about how the big event is going to happen in Berlin. So it's a wonderful time where I think over a period of time, Gurudev gave me the ability to contribute in so many different ways that it's so hard to keep track of it. And most of it was informal. So it was never that, okay, you have to do only this. I think that's what for me the ashram is all about, where all of us would pitch in and do everything. Today, of course, the organization has grown up into such an amazing organization spread over 180 countries. There are so many people who are contributing in such amazing ways. And I think this is still the essence of the organization, where it's built on seva, the ability of people to do things much beyond their abilities. And I think this is what Gurudev brings to all of us. And I think this is what uh, spirituality is all about. Doing the ability to do what we can do is something that's given, but the ability to do beyond what we are capable of, I think that's what is the divinity that acts in our lives. And I think Art of Living, through all its projects, exemplifies this action.
Wow,
Back to you
amazing.
then.
Wow. So, Swamiji, I would like to know that how, in fact, just not me, the viewers who are watching your podcast on YouTube. In fact, I would like to tell everyone that we all can share, uh, we share it with your friends and family from YouTube, the link of YouTube for today's conversation with Swamiji, and it'll be very helpful for all of your friends and family. So please do that. So Swamiji, how is it different? Like your life pre-Swamihood and post-Swamihood. So what is it that changed?
Actually, I would say there is nothing that changed. Uh, in fact, being a sannyasi is actually going beyond, dropping all the titles, dropping all the identities is called sannyas. Because all our identities limit us, limit the consciousness to a certain role. And I think uh, over a period of time, what Art of Living really does, the Sudarshan Kriya, our practices, meditation, it allows us to go beyond our limited identity. And I think this is what truly is sannyas. So we often hear of a monk who sold his Ferrari. And I think selling a Ferrari does not make me a monk. But the Ferrari not mattering to me, that definitely makes me a monk.
Hmm.
Okay. Sorry. I'm actually having a terrible cough today, but I think my voice is still okay, right?
Thank you so much, Swamiji, for coming despite of having cough.
Mm.
So Swamiji, I would like to know, and in fact, our viewers will also like to know that uh, when you perform, there is puja, especially Rudra Abhishek. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah. So when you perform Rudra Abhishek and we are sitting on the other side, so how is it to sit on that side and performing it live yourself?
Well, I think for all of us who sit in the Rudrabhishek, whether you're sitting on this side or that side, the purpose of the Rudram is to make us realize that we are not on any side. I often say this before a Rudra Puja that the pilot flies the plane and the passengers sit in the plane, but both reach the same destination. So, as far as I am concerned, whether you're a passenger or a pilot, of course, a passenger has more responsibility, but both reach the same place. And I think that is, for me, what puja really is. It's not about an identity, it is about transcending the identity. And that is why Shiva is really about transcending our identity. An identity is needed in the world for me to live in the world, whether it is having a passport, whether it's having an Aadhaar card, whether it is uh, going in a bus. I think everywhere we do need an identity. To live in the world, an identity is needed. Yet, if we are stuck in the identity, that itself becomes limiting. So, we need to be in an identity and transcend that identity. And Shiva really allows us to go beyond our identity. That is why uh, Rudra or Shiva is called the transformer or the destroyer. That is why where Brahma is the creator, Vishnu is the preserver, Shiva is someone that energy that brings transformation. And obviously in the Rudravishek, that which removes all the differences. That is what the Rudram is. And that has been my experience. Intellectually, it's easy to understand that it's all one energy. Science also says it's all proton, electron, neutron, it's all a wave function. Spirituality also says the same thing, but in our day to day life, it always feels, hey, my kurta size is different than yours. The food I like is different than yours. So, life makes us live our differences, but puja helps us to transcend our differences. And that is what has been my experience in the puja.
Wow, wonderful. So, Swamiji, we have so many Shiva temples. I myself am a Shiva Bhakt and very famous ones. But there are only 12 Jyotirlings. So, what is a Jyotirling? Why is that temple called a Jyotirling? And how is it different from other Shivling and Shivling temples?
I remember in one satsang, someone asked Gurudev exactly this question. And I believe that video is there on YouTube. You can go and look for it. But Gurudev said Jyoti means light and Linga means a symbol. So Jyotirling means really a symbol of consciousness, a symbol of the light. We are made up of consciousness. The whole universe is made up of consciousness. Yet we need a symbol. I remember in satsang, someone came and asked Gurudev this question. Gurudev, if the divine is everywhere, why should we go to a temple? What does it mean? What is the importance of going to a temple or going to an ashram? It's the same divine everywhere. It was summertime, it was pretty hot, and the gentleman who's asking the question was standing under the fan and asking this question. And Gurudev asked him, why are you standing there? Now, this gentleman was quite surprised. He said, well, I've asked a different question, and Gurudev is not at all answering that question. But since Gurudev had asked, he said, well, Gurudev, the fan is here and it's quite hot, so that's why I'm standing under the fan. And Gurudev said, the air is everywhere, yet you're standing under the fan because that's where you can feel it. In the same way, the divinity is everywhere, yet in a temple you can feel it. And that's why, for me, the Jyotirlings are a symbol of the light, of the consciousness. It's there everywhere, yet it is in these places where it's been consecrated like that, that one is able to experience the divinity so obviously. And that is why all these Jyotirlings, whenever you go there, it feels something ethereal. It feels, even though the Shivalinga is made up of stone, it feels as if it represents something so much more magnificent, something so out of the world. In fact, uh, the each of these Jyotirlings have a name and they exemplify some aspect of the divinity. Gurudev often says all our scriptures, all our ancient texts are symbolic in nature. Today, we have held on to the symbols and we have thrown away the essence. It's truly Gurudev who allows us to celebrate the symbols and live the essence. And I think that is what makes Art of Living and Gurudev's teaching so beautiful, that it allows us to uh, a lot of times people either throw away the symbols or throw away the essence. But here we have both of them coexisting so beautifully. And that's why I feel all these Jyotirlings, I've gone to many of them myself, like you said, and it's such an amazing feeling. It's truly a feeling that's out of the world.
Wow. So, Swamiji, the famous Somnath Jyotirling, as we've all, we know about the Somnath Jyotirling is one of the first Jyotirling. So, can you explain a little bit more about it?
I think Gurudev has explained so beautifully about it. Even when I watched that video, I remember being there at one of those meetings. The Somnath Jyotirling is the first one. It is said that this Jyotirling never used to touch the ground. It was always floating above the ground. And it was a marvel of engineering, of technical excellence and engineering. At the same time, it was a symbol of something that was out of this world. So when it got destroyed and then the pieces were preserved by these Agnihotri families, when they came to the ashram, it's a fascinating story. But when we analyze those pieces, the geologists told us that this material is not of earth. So, literally speaking, the Jyotirling, the Somnath Jyotirling, was actually out of this world. And it is only something that is out of this world that can be a symbol of that which transcends the world. So, for me, Somnath, Soma is the moon. The moon signifies the mind. And Natha means the one who is the Lord, the master. That's why Shiva is called Somnath, because he's the master of the mind. The mind is something that is usually the master. We see something and we get attracted. Someone says something, we hear it, and it makes us upset. So many times the mind determines the state that we live in. But for one who is established in the consciousness, that is the master of the mind. And that's why Somnath, the first Jyotirling, really represents the sadhak's mastery over the mind. And that's why the Somnath Jyotirling is supposed to be the first, because that is the first step for a sadhak on the journey of sadhana.
Wow. So, Swamiji, this Jyotirling was attacked multiple times and
Mhm.
was rebuilt in different times. Is there any deeper meaning of its disappearance and coming back again and again?
I think often we think that it was destroyed um, because someone didn't believe in it. I would actually go ahead to say that energy is that which attracts consciousness. So there is a wonderful story in the Puranas. Lord Narayana, he had two Dwarpalas, Jay and Vijay. And one day he was resting. Sheshaya Parthe, he was lying down in Yoga Nidra. And the Sanat Kumars, they came to meet Lord Narayana. When they came to the door, the doorkeeper said, our Lord is resting. He's in Yoga Nidra. But the Rishi, the Brahma Kumars, the sons, the mental, mind-born sons of Lord Brahma, the Sanat Kumars, they said, but with our sadhana, we can see that he is just in Yoga Nidra. He's totally aware and yet resting. But Jai Vijay said, no, no, he's lying down. And an argument happened and they stopped the Sanat Kumars from meeting the Lord. And it is said that the Sanat Kumars cursed the two Dwarpalas. And the story goes on that they went and asked forgiveness. So they had cursed them and they said, okay, you can be born 7 times as a devotee of the Lord or 3 times as an enemy of the Lord. So Jay and Vijay said, but this is so strange. Why should a enemy spend less time and a devotee spend more time on earth as punishment? So the Sanat Kumar said, if you're a devotee, you do think of the Lord, but if you're an enemy of someone, that person occupies your mind space even more. So, what we often think of as enmity, even Narada in his Bhakti Sutra says, Vaira is also a form of bhakti. So, what we often think of as antagonistic, in some twisted way, was those people's devotion. And yet, it caused such a pain to so many people. That karma definitely had some impact. But the divinity is such that it can never be erased. And that's why the temple was rebuilt again and again and again. The devotion brought back the existence of the temple. And with India's independence, it was rebuilt once again. Yet the original parts of the Shivalinga were still lost. And that story of how these parts came back to existence is such a wonderful story. Back to you, Tanu.
So, Swamiji, we've heard that one of the reason that temple was attacked multiple times was that there was something connected to power, like whosoever uh, whosoever is the king of that place, the ruler, if the Jyotirling was destroyed, so the Muhammad of Ghazni who tried like 17 times. So can you just throw some light on it? I mean, it's just a story that I've heard, but I would want you to narrate it to people.
Well, all stories, you will see a lot of times, these stories depict that the power of the king lies somewhere. And a ruler is a symbol of the mind. The mind rules the senses. For me to lift my hand, the mind has to give a signal. For me to see something, the mind has to see through the eyes. So all our interaction with the world is through the mind. And when the mind, it doesn't have its own power. It's the consciousness that brings power to the mind. So of course there are many stories, and yet the and the stories always say to destroy the king, you have to destroy the power, which is a very beautiful way of saying that the real power in a person lies in the consciousness. And that's why destroying the body is not enough, but really getting to the source of the power is what allows us to vanquish the king. In the same way, the for someone to have a say over the mind, we need to go much deeper. And that is what for me is the Sudarshan Kriya. So, what starts off as a story about the Jyotirlinga, about Muhammad Ghazni attacking so many times. Of course, history is replete with all these examples. But for me, what is more fascinating is really how all these stories are actually happening in real time in today's world. And it is this connection that Gurudev brings alive so beautifully. So for me, the Mahabharata is happening in our body at this point of time. There are so many tendencies which take us towards something which is not life supporting, and so many that take us towards life supporting. The attack on the Somnath is happening in our body every moment. The consciousness is the Jyotirlinga, but the Muhammad of Ghazni is all the sensory objects that impact on the mind and try to destroy the impact of the consciousness, get us back into lethargy. So, really speaking, there's so much to learn from history. But history can also bog us down and get us into a state where we think, oh, I should take revenge, I should do this. Yet, the way to really do this is to move ahead, because there is no end to revenge. And that's why, for me, the story of uh, how the temple gets rebuilt is a story of the nature of consciousness. Because for the Indian Vedic style of thinking, it was always about uplifting the consciousness, always about relegating the negativity to the wayside and bringing forth the positivity. And I think today Gurudev is doing exactly this. He's bringing back the element of positivity, the element of consciousness in every action that we're doing. And I think that is what is so wonderful.
Okay, so if our viewers have any questions, they can put it on our YouTube comments, and Kashiji will answer, Swami Kaushikji will answer in the end after our conversation finishes. Anything you want to ask, you can ask. Also, such an amazing, insightful podcast, so we can share from YouTube to all our friends and family to watch. And there are a lot of podcasts and knowledge sessions happening on the same channel. So please subscribe. Just press on the bell icon and subscribe it. So moving forward, Swamiji, we want to know the story of how the fragments of the original Somnath Jyotirling reached Gurudev. So what's the story
To,
behind it?
to listen to the unedited version, go to Gurudev's YouTube channel and you'll see Gurudev in Gurudev's own words. What a wonderful story that is. When the last time when Ghazni attacked and the fragments were there were some Agnihotri Brahmins who picked up those fragments and brought it down to South India, and they preserved it over generations. What an amazing uh, strength of tradition that India has, that some things got preserved over so many generations. When they went to Kanchi Shankaracharya, Perivar as he used to be called, then Kanchi Shankaracharya Perivar said that India will become independent one day and Lord Ram will get established in Ayodhya. That is the time that you should go and give these fragments to a saint in Bangalore, in South, who would embody the energy of the sun and Shiva. And that's how these fragments were preserved for so many years. And then when Ayodhya Ramlala was established, 100 years had passed. That's when these Agnihotri Brahmins, they came to Gurudev and in their own words, they shared how such a holy tradition was preserved. And today they were handing over these fragments to Gurudev. And today, Gurudev has really allowed everyone across India to have darshan of something so holy, such a holy relic that is there, that has been preserved over generations. I think it just brings tears to my eyes to even think of something such an amazing thing that's happening in my lifetime. What a good karma we all must have done, that Lord Shiva decided to manifest in all our lives in such a beautiful fashion.
Swamiji, how do we know that these Jyotirling fragments are a part of that original Somnath Jyotirlinga, which used to levitate above the ground?
Well, for me, the very fact that uh, my guru says so is good enough. But I know for many people, a lot of scientific proof is needed. And that's why Gurudev understood this and he got these fragments analyzed geologically. The geologists were surprised at the composition of these fragments. They said it has magnetic properties, and you can actually see when you bring Gurudev has demonstrated it so many times in front of such large publics. When you actually, and I remember I went to the Gurukul, I did it myself, and it's so fascinating to see how there is a magnetic effect in stone. There's no iron content in the Shivalinga, and yet it has magnetic properties. No wonder it used to levitate, because obviously, when you have a huge Shivalinga made up of all these things and a base made up of that, then it would levitate. So I think the technology that our ancient rishis used, you can see it with your own eyes, feel it with your own, in your own presence. And that for me is so fascinating. That is such a sure sign that these truly are the fragments of that Jyotirlingam.
In fact, Swamiji, I'm also out of those fortunate ones who witnessed all this. In Delhi NCR, we had this yatra where Swamiji, we were having multiple Rudra Pujas across Delhi NCR, and more than 1 lakh people attended it.
Wow.
So I also feel very fortunate to witness this historic event. So everyone is very excited about what is happening in Rameshwaram on 30th January. We really want to hear it from you now.
You know,
Also, I'm sorry I'm cutting you in between. Also about Ramnath to Somnath Yatra. So if you could brief that also with it.
you know, it's uh, it's such a historic occasion that the Somnath Jyotirlingam is going to be at Rameshwaram. The Jyotirlingam that is believed to have been established by Lord Rama himself on the banks of the ocean, uh, which is such a beautiful place. Of course, I've been there since my mother was from Madurai, so I remember going there as a child and playing in the sand on the shores of the ocean. It's such a pristine land, and the presence of Lord Shiva speaks so beautifully. I still remember going to all the kundas of Rameshwaram. Each of those waters have such a unique and distinctive texture and temperature. It just makes us believe so beautifully that the divinity exhibits itself in various ways. So this yatra from Ramnath to Somnath, I think this is something that we all do in all our lives. Of course, uh, at a mundane level, this is something that is a yatra from one place to another. But for me, this yatra it signifies something so much more. Rama literally means the radiance within. Gurudev has said so many times. And the radiance within going to the conqueror of the mind. I think this is something that is so symbolic. There is a radiance within each and every one of us. And that's why, for me, this event in Rameshwaram is so special, because it represents each one of our journeys. Whether we physically do that journey or we just mentally are there taking a sankalpa, being there with our intentions, either in our physical body or our spiritual essence. I think this is something uh, that is that relates to each and every one of us. Often people think, why do we have to take uh, uh, water from Ganga and offer it in Rameshwaram, and then take water from the sea and offer it back in Kashi Vishwanath? So Gurudev was talking about this phenomenon. Many people in especially in South India have this belief that once in a life they have to do this. And Gurudev said, this is a tradition that was set up in the ancient days because our rishis really wanted India to be one. And this was the temples, the Jyotirlingam in different parts of the country were there for us to bring us all together. And that's why we would all do these yatras, get to know traditions everywhere, and see that oneness that makes India what it is today. So maybe we'll take one last question.
Yes, Swamiji. So, what does it mean for you to offer Sankalpa in such a huge Maharudra puja event that's happening in Rameshwaram? And also, so I have the privilege of I am going to be there for that event on 30th. But for all those who are watching and who cannot be there physically, so what is the way for them to witness all of that?
I think this is what the age of technology helps us to do. There was a time when people could just close their eyes and see everything. That was the age of Sanjaya, when the Mahabharata happened and Sanjaya could just see what was happening. Today, technology does the role of Sanjaya for us. And just like Dhritarashtra watched the whole of Mahabharata sitting on his throne, in the same way, today we can sit at our home and be a part of something so beautiful. What
And
does a
I
Sankalpa truly mean? Sankalpa means Samyak Kalpana. In fact, when we are taking a Sankalpa, the mantras that are being chanted, it says, Vaivasvatamanvantare Kali Yuge Prathame Pade Jambudvipe. It brings us from the vastness of time and space to here and now. The body is a very small part of our existence. It's the consciousness that makes the body tick. And in the same way, when we take our consciousness, when we are mentally present somewhere, then that's where our energy is. The body takes a lot of time to go from point A to point B, but the mind, it's instantaneous. And that's why Sankalpa is really about taking our presence to a certain place and time. And then the whole idea in a Sankalpa is you think of your Gotra, Nakshatra, Rashi, your name, and then you take some rice and flowers and you offer it. Now, the puja is done by someone. But when we say, hey, I want to feel a part of this, how do I feel a part of something when when I say when I say, okay, these flowers, oh, this is something that I got. In this whole temple, this brick was mine. I put it here. So the feeling of belongingness comes when we are a part of the whole experience. And I think Sankalpa really allows us to feel that even though there is someone sitting there doing the puja, I am a part of it. And the this is the reason that the concept of Sankalpa existed. In fact, as part of the Sankalpa, it actually says in the mantra Acharya Mukhena Karishye, through the uh, mouth of the Acharya, I will do things. And it might seem, oh no, but I want to, how can I get punya unless I pour water on the Shivlinga? By this logic, you should tell your chartered accountant, you don't do the taxes, I will do the taxes, otherwise, how will I get the benefit? You should be telling the pilot of the plane, unless I fly the plane, how will I reach my destination? In all these cases, it seems so absurd. But when it comes to a puja, we think, no, I have to offer the water, I have to offer the leaf. So it's not about offering the leaf or the water or anything else, but really feeling a part of something. And I think that is what Gurudev through the Vaidic Dharma Sansthan. And I was so fortunate to be a trustee of this earlier. And tomorrow I see that Alka Vishwas Alka Vishwas ji is actually going to be doing this podcast tomorrow. And both of us, we've had such an amazing time being a part of this wonderful trust and being a part of so many pujas. And I feel that this is what Gurudev brings to all of us through the pujas, through the Sankalpa, is the ability to be part of something historic. This is a once in lifetimes occasion. And of course, the best thing is to just reach there. But if not, then just feel that I am also there. And I think Sankalpa is the way for all of us to feel a part of something so wonderful. Does that make sense, then?
Yes, and there's a good news that the entire event is going to stream live on the same YouTube channel. So, all the more reason to subscribe on this channel so that we can witness this grand, historic spiritual event. So, thank you so much, Kashi Bhaiya, again, Swami Kaushik ji, for being with us with your insightful, the knowledge that you gave us today. Really grateful. You were not feeling well, but still you made it. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
See you
Danu.
on
Jai Gurudev.
Jai Gurudev. So, with this, we come to an end of closing today's podcast. Very grateful to all of you who joined in through our YouTube channel so we can share again with all our friends and family today's podcast. Thank you. See you again soon.